and every time I would come back home from school, on TV would be Jacko, you know. So I ate with it, I slept with it, I woke up with it. So that's how it got into my blood, I guess. And I just loved the environment I had in my house because it was so fusion. My mom sings; she's a Hindustani classical singer. So there was a lot of fusion in the house. I was hearing a lot of jazz music and funk music, R&B, pop, rock, everything, and of course Carnatic music, Hindustani classical and stuff. So yeah, as a kid, it was it's so overwhelming, and it's so mind blowing in a good way to be exposed to so many different kinds of music. And I was kind of adapting myself to that environment, and I loved the environment. So I used to bunk school days, and I'd just be at home and just practice by myself, or I would kind of go tag along by my daddy, and wherever he used to perform, I would just accompany him, you know, just sit in the audience area and just see him play on stage. Or sometimes I would even sound check for him, you know, or just the day before the recording session, he would play me the song and he would ask me to write a chart for him so that he can check later on when he starts recording. So that would be, it's like simultaneously I'm getting trained also, and not just enjoying, but at the same time getting trained. So I actually started writing and reading. I learned to read and write before I started playing. So yeah, that helped me a lot. Yeah, so that was my journey. And then my dad had this really close friend called Ranjit Barrett. He is the drummer for John McLaughlin. He tours with John McLaughlin. And he took me to Ranjit Barrett's studio, Nirvana studio, at the age of around 11. And he said that, you know, I have a music for you. That music was actually, he meant a CD, but it was me. It was not a CD. They were just kidding. And I was there, and I was with my big bass. By that time, I had a Fender jazz bass that my dad gave me. And Ranjit uncle was like, so where's the CD? And dad goes, well, here's the CD. And he points towards me. And then I start playing. I actually played one of Victor's tunes that I really loved. And he was mind blown, and he got me to play on his album called Bara Boom. It had Lenny Kranz, John McLaughlin, Zakir Hussain, Dominic DiPiazza, Matt Garrison, some of the biggest names of the jazz industry, and I was really honored to be on that album. So yeah, I just try and pick up like few little nice things from every musician that I hear. But to name a few, I think would be Victor Wooten, Jack Pastorius, of course, Ibrahim Laboriel, Marcus Miller, Stanley Clarke. And in today's time, I listen to a lot of Adrian Farrod, Federico, Anton Davidians. So these are really close friends of mine, and we just learned from each other by looking at each other's videos that we put out online. Yeah.
Thought I would miss it before I ditched it, dismissed it. Yeah, I was tiny, put all about me, behind me. And after 3 years of living, you're asking to go back in. What did you hope to see?
I believe you were interested in drums when you were younger.
Yes.
How does percussion influence
That's
your
right.
bass playing?
That's right. We Indians are so, you know, inclined towards syllables. Syllables as in konakol. It comes from Carnatic industry, and there are two gharanas, whereas there's Hindustani and there's Carnatic. And I had the, you know, I had an honor to have been raised in both worlds, because I used to play with a lot of musicians from this side and a lot of musicians from this side. But I was in between also gigging with a lot of jazz musicians in the club every Friday, Saturday night. So I was kind of shuffling between a lot of different genres, which I loved the most because I never wanted to restrict myself from one genre. So I ended up kind of hopping in and out between different bands. I remember playing with Zakir Hussain. He is somebody I really adore. He is a legendary tabla player. Everybody knows him. I played with him at the age of 13, and I was so fascinated by the sound of tabla. I think that was the first time I really, really heard tabla in a different style altogether, and a different sound altogether. And I saw him do things on tabla that really made me think, can I do it on the bass? And I love syncopated stuff. I love time signatures. I love polyrhythms, you know. So I love conacols and like corvees and tihais. I don't know if you understand when I say corvees or conacol. It's like takadimi takita, all those kind of things. You must have heard these things. So I do all that and I play along with that. So I'm trained under that gharana. So I know all those kind of things. So when I heard tabla, I was like, can I do it on the bass? So I went back home. I actually used to record all the rehearsals that we used to do together. And I went back home and I used to try to do the same things on bass and build my chops and construct my chops according to what would complement my technique and what would be kind of bounded inside my capabilities. So I ended up constructing a few exercises that helps me improve my technique, but at the same time make me able to do all the stuff that a drummer can do or a tabla player can do. I explain those kind of stuff when I'm doing like clinics and master classes. People always ask me, how can you be so powerful on the bass and you do a lot of technical and percussive stuff on the bass? That's because I have grown up playing with a lot of tabla players and drummers, so I always have tried to do same things that a drummer can do on the drums. Say a drummer would go like 4/4 and then he's playing 7/8 with his right hand. So I would do the same thing with my right hand. Like I would go 7 on my left hand and I would go 4 with my right hand, or vice versa. So I would try and do all those kind of things. So that was really, really interesting. And you just kind of keep growing after that. Once you figure out your own ways to construct your exercises or ideation or rendition or outlook towards things, dealing with different musical situations. Yeah.
You say you used to watch your father and even sound check. What was the music scene like?
Oh well,
What sort of gigs?
it was a lot of Bollywood music. It was a lot of movie work, a lot of background scores, jingles. So whenever I used to go to like studios with him, I would see him play for like jingles, advertisements, you know, for like Pepsodent or like, you know, like a hair shampoo or whatever. It's kind of interesting to see how people make music out of just looking at the scenes, you know. That's another work altogether. I have done a few myself and it's so interesting to look at like situations and people do things, acting, and then to think of some music that comes in your head, which is really interesting for me. And then I used to see Daddy record he has played in over like 500 to 600 movies until now. And it's crazy, like how can a person be able to do so much work, you know? But I guess we Indians are very workaholic. Like me, I don't, maybe not talk on behalf of Indians, but me as a person, I am so workaholic. I work day and night. Even when I go back home, I start taking out my bass and I just practice, or in front of my laptop looking at videos. It's something that I enjoy doing. I don't feel like sleeping, you know. It's like an addiction for me. So yeah.
Tell me about your gear journey and some of the relationships with some of the gear companies.
Gear companies, yes. So when I started doing all these online collaborations with international artists, I think the first video that hit millions and millions of views was the video Day by Day with Gargo Bordai. That's when that video got me a lot of exposure and a lot of fame, because it was really amazing and something really unique that I'd never done before. So so when audience got to see that, my fans got to see that, they were blown away, because they only knew me as A.R. Rahman's bass player. I work with A.R. Rahman, have been working with him for the past 5.5 years. So they know me as a part of A.R. Rahman's band, where I am like a funk bass player, just pop bass player, you know, not really soloing or featuring. It's not like a feature. It's we do 40 songs in a gig, 3-hour concert, you know. So it's a big show, but it's more about the songs, and we complement the songs and not. But of course there are feature spaces for every musician, but it's more about the songs. So that people know me as A.R. Rahman's bass player, but when they saw that video, they started to know that I'm not just a side musician, but I'm a solo artist, and I can do all these solo stuff, and I'm more of a solo artist. Then it hit like around 5 million views or something. It's crazy, and I was so stunned. And then we put out another video, and then we put out another video, and I just kept putting out videos more and more because I thought the internet world was really big. It's my first time to Namm, and I see so many people know me. It's crazy. It's mind blowing for me to know how many people know me and how big the internet world is. You just keep walking, and suddenly people are like taking pictures and autographs, and I was like, crazy. This is insane. I'm not even from here. So it's really interesting to know that.
The actual gear companies that you're involved with are Mayonnaise,
Mayonnaise, Mark Bass,
Mark Bass.
SID Strings, Groove Gear.
Yeah, how did you become involved with those people?
When they saw these online videos, they just texted me on Facebook. Some texted me via emails, and then they wrote a message to me saying, would I be interested in being a part of their family? I said, yeah, I'm not endorsing anything. And I really loved Mark Bass because I used to see a lot of these big bass players and guitar players used to endorse these products. And I was like, yeah, I would love to, because who wouldn't want to get free stuff, And but at the same time, we are favoring each other. We promote their companies, and we get to play via these amazing pedals, amazing amps. We get the best gear, so it's really amazing,
So what is the actual gear that you're currently using?
Currently using, I use Mark Bass amps. I endorse Mark Bass amps, Mayonnaise basses, SID strings, Groove Gear, Lathan bassware, Boss pedals. Yes.
Did it take a bit of experimentation to find the combination of bass and amp? Was right?
No, not at all. I always knew that Mark Bass was the amp for me because, like I said, I've been in the industry for the past 11 years working, so I've tried almost every amp, whatever we have in India. And of course, every time I used to tour abroad, I used to get a lot of these other amps like Ampegs and Agulars and Mark Bass. I would always ask for Mark Bass or Ampegs or Agulars or TC Electronic, these kind of amps, because I always wanted to kind of try different kind of stuff to see what works with my sound, what works with my kind of playing, because I have a different technique and I look forward to more definition and not too roundy sound. So, and Mark Bass is, I think, one of the best amps that's existing today, because no matter what equalization you do, no matter what changes you make, the body is still there, the bottom end is still there. Like I said, I like more mid-lows and more definition and clear sound, because when you play fast stuff, it's really hard to hear notes. And I've noticed that when I play in other amps, it's really like sloppy. It's really messy when you play like fast stuff. You want it to be not sloppy. You want it to be clean and not messy, So that way Mark Bass is so nice. No matter what you do, it's so clean, and signal is so clean, and it just delivers more personality, more than yourself, which is really good.
Yeah, I have noticed that you like the mid-range
Yes.
frequencies rather than the lower range.
Yeah. It just cuts through more because it doesn't interfere with the drum sound. Because sometimes it also depends on the venue size, of course. But when I'm playing for like bigger venues, say for example an auditorium, then I end up increasing a little more lows, because sometimes it gets lost with the kick because it's so round. And when you go low, you cannot make out the difference between the kick sound and the bass sound. So sometimes I just let somebody play the bass, and I would go in the auditorium and I would listen to it, to see how it sounds. So I do those kind of experiments. I've done that. So I know what works with what kind of spaces. So if you're playing in a club, it's better to use like a 2x10 cabinet or a 4x10 cabinet with like a 800 head or a 1000-watt amp. And then you just roll off all the lows, because most of the sound is going to come from your amp, because it's such a, I used to play on a higher action bass. So the strings would be really high up there compared to the fretboard. The gap between the fretboard and the strings would be really big. And I used to dig in too much, and it ended up consuming a lot of my energy, because I'm so technical when I play, and I end up using a lot of my strength and energy But there was this one time I was touring with Guthrie Govan in Japan, and my bass stopped working, and I needed a bass right away. So I contacted the distributor of mayonnaise in Japan, and they got me a different bass. And that's the bass that I play currently now. I've been playing that for many months now, and it's one of the best basses that I've ever put my hands on. The moment I got that bass, I felt like I've been playing it for many, many years. The action was so low, I didn't have to dig in at all. And since I used to play on a higher action bass, I used to dig in a lot, right? And I put the same amount of pressure and strength on this lower action bass. So it was so loud, and I had to turn down the volume. And now I use like 30% of my volume, 30 to 40%. I don't even go above 50. I still have so much headroom. So that's all coming from my fingers, because I still play with that much pressure, which is, sometimes it starts clipping, so I have to turn down the gain from the head amp. So it's kind of weird, like people when they hear it, like I'm just using 30% of volume, and I'm like, yeah, there's so much headroom you can use.
Do you have any superstitions or rituals in regard to going on stage?
Oh, not at all. Not at all. I was never nervous. I was always happy to be on stage. And I actually never thought of, I never thought I would become a musician. I always wanted to become a fashion designer. I applied for a fashion college after my 10th board exams, and I got selected. But that was the same time I got offered a job by A.R. Rahman's team, and I chose that. So my fashion dream was gone. I thought maybe I can do it on the side, but then with all the traveling and everything, it becomes really hard to find time to like make dresses or design clothes. But sometimes if I'm bored, I would just be in the flight designing something, and then I would send it to my tailor and she would make it, you know. So I'm still doing that on the side, but one day maybe I will have my own clothing line, probably. But I try and get as much sleep as I can every time I get a little space in between my schedules. I can doze off anywhere.
Have you ever had thoughts about designing a bass?
Oh yes, you know, I was walking around a lot of booths, and I saw this really pretty guitar, and I'm gonna make some time for my own bass, and I'm gonna do something to my own bass. You will see, I'll put it out. I think people are gonna like it. I just got an idea after I saw that guitar's body. I liked it so much. It had like, I love bling, okay? I love shiny things. I can like, if I see bling, I would totally sleep on it. Like I can spend the rest of my life. I love glitter and sparkly things. So I saw that guitar's body, and it was just like studs. It had gems on it, and the lights fell on it, and it was like glowing like a diamond. I'm like, wow, I want that. I want that body. And so Mayonnaise has promised me to kind of help me out with that idea, and they're gonna put LED lights on my fretboard with 3 different patterns. So it's gonna be slant, and it's gonna flash. One mode will be just flash on and off, and the other mode will be it would change colors, and the third mode would be on or off, according to your wants, whenever you want it. So we are designing my bass right now.
You're known for playing alongside other people and doing sessions.
Yes.
But what about a recording career of your own? Are you into writing? Is that something you aspire to?
Maybe later on. Right now, I really enjoy playing live. Of course, I love doing session work too. I do it myself. I have my own home studio at home. My bedroom is my studio, and I work from there. All these international albums that I work on, I just record from my home, and I send them the material. I am my own sound engineer. I work by myself, and I like to work late nights, and that's the time when I get time to myself. In the daytime, you won't want to spend more time with your family, you know, have meals, because I'm hardly home. So I try and spend as much time as possible with my family. Yeah, just like finding time for myself is a little bit hard. And a lot of people have been asking me, when is your solo record coming out? I'm like, well, I recorded my material like 3 years ago, and I still haven't released yet, because I've been so busy working for other people, and I just can't find time for myself. And when I hear my material now, I feel like I can edit some stuff. I can redo a few things because that was me 3 years ago, and now I'm a completely upgrade. Let's put it. Say updated person, you know, because with years coming forward and with you growing as a person, it affects your playing in a good way. So I wanna kind of re-record some of the songs with different musicians. So yeah, that's the idea. Why I'm here is because I want to open more doors for me in here and see how things work out for me in here, because I have been in India working for so long now, and I've played with almost everybody in India. So I don't see myself. I don't see any new opportunities there as such, which is really fascinating, or which is pushing me. I want something to push me really hard so that I can work harder and harder. But here, there are so many musicians I want to work with who I really adore, and I want to work with them, and they want to work with me too. So I might end up moving to US. Not permanently, but like, say in and out, 6 months here and 6 months there, whenever time permits.
Okay. What projects do you have coming up?
Well, so I am looking forward to releasing my album very soon. That's one, and I actually recently recorded for this guitar player called Deva Bujana. It has Jordan Rudis on keyboard and Marco Miniman on drums. We had a 1 full day recording session, and we recorded 7 songs. And the project is called Mohini Dey, and it's going to be released soon. So that is something that that is really new, and it's going to come out very soon. And other online collaborations are coming up, but I tend not to speak about it because otherwise then people know and they wait for it. I just put it out like that, and it's fun that way. But this month has been really, really special for me. This year has been really special for me because this was the first Namm, and I got to play with Stu Ham and Gorgo Borlai and Tony McAlpine, and of course the Namm I got to play with Hadrian Farod, Dean Brown, so many great musicians. So it has been a really nice, memorable month for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
What does music mean to you?
It means freedom for me, absolute freedom for me. I don't find myself fitting in anywhere apart from music. I don't even know what I would have been, probably a fashion designer. But the zone I get into, it's like you get into this subconscious mode when you're playing music. It's like praying for me. I don't pray as such in my whole day, never actually. But when I'm playing music, I think I pay respect to a greater power. So that keeps me going, and it just kind of calms me down, and it's very satisfying. There's nothing which can satisfy me more than music. So that's like the best situation and best space that I can be in, I guess.
Mohini Dey, thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.